Chinese texts and so on of Gandhara. It's very much part of that region, right? So Gandhara, at this very early period, 1st century BC, of this manuscript finds, was very much part of the Brahmanical world. Then you have Jains, you have also the religions of the foreign Indo-Scythians, Indo-Greeks, etc., Iranian gods. But it's really Buddhism that is becomes very quickly the main religion, or overtly institutionally based religion in that area. Introduced by Emperor Ashoka, supposedly in 3rd century BC, as witnessed by, say, Dhammarajika Stupa at Taxila, has Mauryan foundations. But Buddhism really takes off in the Kushan period, that's sort of 1st century, a little bit before, actually, the period of these manuscripts. So it's witnessed by, amazing monasteries, stupas, Bamiyan, for example. Unfortunately, those Buddhists were blown up, but manuscripts were found there, paintings, etc. Amazing collections, if you know, of Gandharan art, which is very interesting because it melds Greek and Indian models and Central Asian ideas as well. Inscriptions, reliquaries, Buddha images. So here's a picture on the left of a Buddha from Mathura, that's slightly different time periods, and one from Gandhara, right? So these regions simultaneously, but Gandhara particularly important in the shift from the aniconic representation of the Buddha, that is, the Buddha in terms of symbols, to depicting the Buddha in human form, and that had a profound impact on artistic representation. You look at this here, the artwork was heavily influenced by Greek models, right? So it's very interesting material. Xuanzang, the Chinese pilgrims beginning Faxian in the 5th century, they come through and they record how rich the Buddhist tradition was. But by the time of Xuanzang, 7th century, in some areas of the Swat, it's starting to fade, right? What I'll talk about the manuscript finds in this area, the last 30 years, we've suddenly had this huge number of manuscripts with the war in Afghanistan, etc., filtering out and going on the antiquities trade. The oldest are 1st century BC. As I said, that's the oldest oldest Buddhist manuscripts in existence. This one was found, actually, it's in the Gandhari language, which is an Indian language, and Kurukshetra script, but it was found in Khotan on the southern Silk Route, right? So this is an example, again, of Indian ideas, civilization spreading. But it was the only one we had for 100 years. And then, beginning in the early 1990s, manuscripts started turning up this. And this was acquired by the British Library. So, major collection. I worked with this Professor Solomon. I was 4 years postdoc in Seattle, working with him on these manuscripts. Very rich finds, right, of different classes of Buddhist literature. I published one of the manuscripts in this, which has a parallel in the Pali canon and in Sanskrit and Chinese as well. Another collection, the senior collection, was in private collection, then was donated recently to the University of Washington in Seattle. Really interesting texts. Again, I published material in this. So the second discourse of the Buddha, right? We know at this date because I had them carbon dated in Australia, and also there's an inscription on the pot which is the date of Kanishka, so we can say these manuscripts date to 130 of the time. Then in Bamiyan was a major centre of Buddhism from about the 2nd century at least onwards, and you see the manuscripts. So we have both manuscripts in the Gandhari language in Kurukshetra script, and manuscripts which are slightly later overlapping in the Sanskrit language and Brahmi script, first script of India, right? So there you are witnessing a shift among Buddhist communities around the 2nd, 3rd century from using the sort of indigenous Gandhari language and Kurukshetra script to Sanskrit and Brahmi, right? That's quite a big shift. So what's happening then is this is witnessing Sanskrit no longer being the language of the ritual of Brahmins, but it's now shifting to being the language of intellectual discourse in South Asia, right? So very interesting manuscripts. You get other collections, one that's in Europe, in northern Pakistan, many different texts within the Buddhist genres. The one on the left, for example, is very interesting. This is what is called Perfection of Wisdom. It was a very early Mahayana text, Mahayana being one of the main threads of Buddhism that developed around the 1st century. So these are the oldest Indic representatives, witnesses of these texts, which are only preserved in the early period in Chinese translation and so on. Right? And I'm working on a collection. As I said, most of these manuscripts were taken out of the region on the antiquities trade. I learned about a new collection that was going to be sold, and I raised money from Buddhist foundations to donate to the Islamabad Museum. We've been building a conservation laboratory, training conservators, etc. Right? So again, very interesting texts, all genres and all types, and so on and so on. These date from, again, 2nd century, something like that. And then you get Sanskrit manuscripts. So from Gilgit in the north, as I said, as time went on, the Buddhist community started using Sanskrit. So these are Buddhist texts, but in the Sanskrit language, and they are again in a collection, private collection in America. And then finally you get some manuscripts in the Bactrian language. Bactrian is an Iranian language, ancient Iranian language, and they adopted the Greek script to write it, right? So that's what you have. So what this witnesses is that these Gandharan communities were not only copying Gandharan versions of texts that were imported from the Gangetic lowlands and other major centres of Buddhism, but they were actually composing text. It was a highly literate place, right? So from the 1st century at least, if not earlier, in Gandhara, Buddhist communities were using writing. Now, writing in India goes back, we know, to the Ashokan period. So Ashoka supposedly invented, or his court, maybe a little bit before, the Brahmin script. But when he sends his inscriptions, that's 3rd century BC, up into the northwest, he has written versions in Greek and Aramaic. So he's relating to the Persian and the Greeks of that area. 2 main scripts, Brahmi on the left, which is the origin of all the scripts you know, except Urdu. The Arabic script, and then Kurukshetra. Brahmi supposedly composed in the Mauryan court. Kurukshetra goes from right to left and was based on Aramaic from the Persian Empire. This language was used in this region, right? So there's Gandhara proper and then Central Asia. And we have a lot of witnesses for writing in that area, visual images, etc. As I said, I quite like this picture because it depicts Panini using writing. Now, most scholars would consider that Panini didn't use writing for the composition of his texts, the Ashkadhyai and so on, but some other scholars have argued that he must have. It's such a complex text and the structure is very unique. So then it appears that the Buddhists were the first religious group to use writing, right? Now, Buddhists were never shy to use a new technology. They were the first religious group whose origins are in India to use digital technology, produce CD-ROMs, now online and so on, right? Same, they used writing to begin with. Panini mentions what he calls lipi, script or lipikara, that is writing, or a scribe I should say, in his Ashkadhyai, and he may be just referring to Greek and Persian writing. But now there's a general tendency in early Brahmanical communities to rely on oral composition and transmission, and perhaps that's to protect their profession, and they are also said to have disparaged the use of writing. But some have argued, as I said, that Panini must have used writing for the composition of his famous grammar, the Ashkadhyai, because of its complexity, etc. And finally, if Brahmins did not use writing during the period under discussion for the composition of their texts, it is highly likely that they were illiterate, because they would have wanted to know what were the political powers, namely Ashoka, who's sending edicts around his realm, what were they saying? Right? And it's possible they were even involved in court activities. So this is the question, right? Which is, why do the new manuscripts from ancient Gandhara not include manuscripts of Brahmanical Hindu texts, right? And particularly the Bhagavad Gita, right? Given that Hinduism, Brahmanism was strong in the region, writing was prominent. The business of Brahmins has always been texts and knowledge of language. So, okay, I'm just raising these questions. I don't actually have answers to them as yet. So the first possibility is that Brahmins were not using writing during the period for the composition of their texts, right? Now this seems problematic to me since we're well past the Vedic period when it's a purely oral tradition, right? Now religion, as you know, is a highly competitive business, right? Religions are competing with each other for resources, for patronage and so on, right? Now Buddhism was the most successful religion in Gandhara and perhaps also in other parts of India during the period under discussion, and they were major competitors to Brahmins and Hinduism. So given that Buddhism was using writing for the Buddhists were using writing for the composition of their texts, which was another means of spreading their religion, it's hard to imagine that Brahmins did not pay attention to this and used writing themselves, even in a more limited way, right? So then some have also noted that the shift from this Brahmi script to the shift from using Gandhari and Kurukshetra and to Brahmi script came under the influence of Brahmins perfecting the script to better relay the Sanskrit language. So second possibility is the presence of Brahmins was rather insignificant in Gandhara in comparison to Buddhists. But again, as you saw, the material and textual evidence suggests otherwise. And the third possibility is that Buddhist texts, manuscripts have tended to survive because Buddhism was a monastery-centered religion, whereas the Brahmanical traditions was tended to be at this period based in families and experts, right? Smaller groups. And Buddhists, as I said, had no qualms about using writing. Whatever new technology was available to them, they used it for the spread of proselytizing their religion. And they set about producing a large number of manuscripts, whereas Brahmins tended to work in small family groups and were not monastery-centered. So even if they were writing manuscripts, they were not numerous and there were no libraries, which means that they were less likely to survive. Right? Now this is just a very quick introduction to this field, but it's it seems tangential to Gita studies, but it's not. It raises questions of how comes we don't have manuscripts of the Gita dating from this period and from this region. The oldest Gita manuscript, if my facts are correct, is the 12th century, right? So why don't we have manuscripts earlier? Right? Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. One of our other panel members has also joined. May I request Professor Manjula Chaudhary to welcome Sir Chirapat Prapandavia. We have a Padam Shri in the house, guys, so huge round of applause. May I request Professor Manjula Chaudhary.
Rohit, happy start, sir.
A huge round of applause, guys. Thank you so much. So, I hope you have seen 3 Idiots. Anybody? 3 Idiots? Yes. Okay, Devdas? Okay, what if you want to see these movies and you are born in Japan? So our next guest on the panel, Professor Hiroyuki Sato from Fukushima, Japan. A professor in Musashino University has translated these movies into the Japanese language for the Japanese audience. He has, because those movies are, really international movies, he has also translated Bhagavad Gita and Hanuman Chalisa. Over more than 40 films, Bhagavad Gita and Hanuman Chalisa into Japanese. The next speaker on the panel, Professor Hiroyuki Sato from Japan. Huge round of applause, guys.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. यहाँ उपस्थित थे आप सभी लोगों को नमस्कार. In Japanese, 皆さんこんにちは. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the government of India for the invitation to the International Gita Conference. My thanks also go to the entire staff of Kurukshetra University for organizing this wonderful event, and to all government officials for their dedicated support and hard work. I am deeply honored to be here today and to have the opportunity to speak on the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I had the pleasure of attending the previous conference organized by this university in 2019 and 2023. While those experiences were wonderful, but this occasion is particularly special because this year's Mahotsav, 10th Mahotsav. Now I will begin my presentation on Karma Yoga. I will attempt to speak in Hindi. कर्म सिद्धांत लोक कर्म भारतीय दर्शन का एक मौलिक और महत्वपूर्ण विचार है. ये कार्यक्रम का नियम है. हर कर्म काम क्रिया का एक फल या परिणाम होता है. अच्छे बुरे कर्म सुख लाता है और बुरे पाप कर्म दुख और कष्ट लाता है. अच्छे काम करने से हम लोग इस दुनिया में मरने के बाद स्वर्ग में जन्म लेते हैं. यदि बुरे काम करें तो नरक जाते हैं. लेकिन एक बात सोचने की है कि परम पुरुषार्थ मोक्ष प्राप्त करना है और मोक्ष तो स्वर्ग जाना नहीं है, बल्कि मरने के बाद स्वर्ग में भी जन्म ना लेकर किसी दुनिया में भी पैदा होना है. इसलिए मूल दर्शन के अनुसार ये सिद्धांत होगा कि मोक्ष प्राप्त करने के लिए हमें ना बुरे काम करने चाहिए और न ही केवल अच्छे कर्मों के फल में फंसना नहीं चाहिए, बल्कि निष्काम कर्म करना चाहिए या कर्मों के बंधन से मुक्त होना चाहिए. परंतु श्री कृष्ण ने अर्जुन से 20 मिनट भाग लेने का काम करने को क्यों कहा? इसका उत्तर गीता के सबसे प्रसिद्ध श्लोक में मिलेगा. द्वितीय अध्याय 47 श्लोक में ऐसा लिखा है, आप सब लोग जानते हैं. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन कर्मफल हेतुर्वा मा ते संगो अस्तु कर्मणि. इसका अर्थ ये है, तुम्हें काम करने ही का अधिकार है, काम का फल प्राप्त करने का अधिकार नहीं है. तुम काम के फल का खाना मत रहो और तुम्हें कामना करने में भी आसक्ति न रहो। यदि आसक्ति के बिना निष्काम से काम करेंगे तो काम का कोई प्रभाव कुछ नहीं है। इसलिए नरक न चाहते हैं और स्वर्ग भी न चाहकर मोक्ष प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। गीता से और एक श्लोक लेकर कर्मयोग के बारे में मैं कुछ बात करना चाहूंगा। तीसरा अध्याय 8वीं श्लोक में यह श्लोक जिससे मुझे तो काम करने की प्राप्ति मिलती है, यह श्लोक है। ना मैं पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यम त्रिश्लोकेषु किंचन ना अनबाप्तम अभाप्तव्यम भरत एव चक्रम। इसका अर्थ यह है तीनों लोग संपूर्ण क्रिया में मेरे लिए कोई कर्तव्य नहीं है। जो मुझे प्राप्त करना था वो मैंने प्राप्त कर लिया, कुछ भी अप्राप्त नहीं है, फिर भी काम करता हूं। यदि काम करने का उद्देश्य कुछ प्राप्त करना है तो सब कुछ प्राप्त करने के बाद काम करने की आवश्यकता तो नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं होगी। लेकिन काम करने का उद्देश्य फल प्राप्त करना नहीं था, तब हम काम करते रहेंगे। हम लोग काम करते करते और मेहनत करते करते फल मिलना भी हो सकता है, सपना पूरा करना भी हो सकता है, तो हमें संतोष, आनंद, प्रशंसा और सुख मिलते हैं। कभी कभी मैंने अच्छा काम किया, कभी कभी मैंने अच्छा काम किया, ऐसा सोचकर अहंकार, अभिमान और घमंड भी आ सकता है। फिर भी भगवान कृष्ण इस श्लोक से हमें ये सीखते हैं कि सफलता मिलने पर भी और सपना पूरा होने पर भी अहंकारी या घमंडी न होकर बल्कि विनम्र रहकर काम करते रहो और अपने कर्तव्य पर चलते रहो। और एक बात मैं कहना चाहूंगा, कई साल पहले यूट्यूब पर रजत शर्मा के टीवी का कार्यक्रम आपकी अदालत में मैंने माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी को देखा। उस समय मोदी जी गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री थे। उस कार्यक्रम में एक युवक ने उनसे मोदी जी से पूछा कि मैं मुख्यमंत्री कैसे बना सकता हूं। ऐसे एक युवक ने मोदी जी से पूछा तो मोदी जी ने उत्तर दिया, बेटे पढ़ने का सपना मत देखो, करने का सपना देखो। ऐसे उनके उत्तर के अनुसार ऐसा कहा जा सकता है, अधिकतर लोग कुछ प्राप्त करने के लिए या कुछ बनने के लिए काम करता है और विद्यार्थी एग्जाम में अच्छे अंक पाने के लिए और अच्छी नौकरी पाने के लिए पढ़ाई करते हैं। फिर भी यदि पैसे नहीं मिले, हानि नहीं बने, अच्छे अंक या अच्छे नौकरी नहीं मिले तो अधिकतर लोग उदास हो जाता है। क्यों? इसका कारण क्या है? कारण ये कि अधिकतर लोग पढ़ने का सपना देखते हैं, करने का सपना नहीं देखते हैं, इसलिए उदास हो जाते हैं। अगर करने का सपना देखा है तो काम करने में ही संतोष मिलेगा और काम करने में ही संतोष मिलना चाहिए। इस संबंध में एक हिंदी फिल्म का संवाद याद आता है। ये संबंध भी आप लोग शायद जानते होंगे। ये मेरी ट्रांसलेशन के लिए अपने थोड़ा बोला। ये संबंध, सफलता के पीछे मत भागो, उत्कृष्टता का पीछा करो, सफलता चक्कर करके तुम्हारे पीछे आएगी। मोदी जी का वो उत्तर और हिंदी फिल्म का ये संवाद गीता के कर्मयोग पर आधारित है। अंत में मैं और कुछ बोलना चाहता हूं। विदेशी लोग कभी कभी सोचते हैं कि गीता एक पुराना उद्देश्य है, लेकिन भारत सरकार गीता के कर्मयोग के उद्देश्य के अनुसार एक बड़ा राष्ट्रीय कार्यक्रम मिशन कर्मयोगी करते हैं और IGTO कर्मयोगी प्लेटफॉर्म बना के ऑनलाइन शिक्षण देकर गीता को कर्मयोग के उपदेश को आधुनिक जीवन में उतार रही है। मुझे लगता है कि यही भारत का संस्कार है। गीता का उपदेश पुराने जमाने का नहीं और केवल भारतीय लोगों के लिए नहीं, आधुनिक जमाने का है और संपूर्ण विश्व का है। इसलिए मैं आशा करता हूं कि दुनिया भर में गीता का उपदेश प्रसारित हो और इसके लिए मैं एक कोशिश करता रहूंगा। तो मेरी बात सुनने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir. How do you associate an IITian? Probably with the NIT. So BSc and MSc from NIT Rourkela, PhD from IIT Delhi. For last 24 he has been with IIT Kanpur. And what are the words that come to your mind? Robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain. What's the connection with the International Gita Conference? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Lakshmidhar Behera from IIT Mandi, Director IIT Mandi.
Should I speak in English or Hindi? I can mix it. Okay. Thank you all the dignitaries in the dais and all the wonderful audience present here. I am very happy to be present in this 10th International Gita Conference. You see, in 1988 I finished my BSc Engineering from Arisi Rourkela. We are a batch of 256 students, 128 from Odisha and 128 from outside Odisha. After everybody left, I felt a sense of emptiness within, because I felt that when I finished my schooling at Chandahandi Panavada High School, the same emptiness was there. Then I went to Ravinsa College. After I finished my intermediate science, I had the same emptiness. And this is the third time that repeated. I thought that life must have a better purpose than simply making one category of friendship and again giving up, making new, and that is going on. That is the time I picked up a Bhagavad Gita from a bookstore and started reading every day regularly, chapter by chapter. In the meantime, you see, I am from Odisha, and Odia people, they eat fish and other things. But I gave up everything and only lived on salads, only green salad and some fruits for next 1.5 years after 1988 August, when I picked up Bhagavad Gita, because something within me told me that if you want to understand Bhagavad Gita, you have to live the principle of mode of goodness. And this has been an incredible journey of more than 35 years. I have been reading Bhagavad Gita, trying to live Bhagavad Gita, and trying to teach Bhagavad Gita to many. Every day morning in my class, I have around 600 attending these lessons of Bhagavad Gita. So today in this seminar, I would like to give you some first person perspective. The way I looked at Bhagavad Gita and the way I learned from others how to reform myself, how to be self-critical, and how I can show my empathy to those who deserve. Today's discussion or topic is Karma Yoga. And let me tell you, based on my teaching of Bhagavad Gita, I wrote a book called 5 Aspects of Absolute Truth. This is there in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita people read, there are 700 verses, 18 chapters, but they don't know what are the topics that are being covered in Bhagavad Gita. The 5 topics broadly covered in Bhagavad Gita are Ishvara. Who is the absolute truth? Not absolute truth, controller. An absolute controller. Ishvara. Jiva. The unit of consciousness. Not only all of us who are present here, but they are present in 8.4 million species. This unit of consciousness makes this universe beautiful. Not the matter, not the atoms or molecules. We need to understand this. And third topic is Prakriti, material nature that manifests everything, all your actions everything is an interaction between these three modes. We don't perform any action. Actions prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimuratma kartam aham iti manyate. It is the three modes, they perform the action. In the middle, I think I am the doer. That is because of ahankara. Prakriti. Kala, time. Time subdues everyone. The famous Vedic civilization at its best is no more. Neither the British Empire is anymore existing, nor the American hegemony will continue for long. This is the laws of time. Time subdues everyone and flattens everybody's ahankara. And fourth, which is today's subject, is karma, action. And I'm supposed to speak about an action, right? Karma. In fact, I didn't know that you will have the facility for PPTs. I have hundreds of PPTs in my laptop, but I didn't bring. But I'm trying to speak now extempore. Don't worry. You will not be bored. You say you are all management students, right? All of you are management students. I'll tell you a story. The story of an Indian. He passed from IIT Delhi. He was a BTech from IIT Delhi, did his MBA from Ahmedabad. Life was very nice for him until he reached the Bay Areas of America, where he made a fortune. Got married, had wonderful children. But came 2007, 2008, American recession. And he lost his job. When he lost his job, he thought it is a temporary phenomenon. He waited for his time. He had an Allison bungalow. But for long time, after the recession time, he applied. But the companies found his resume is very up. Nobody is ready to pay such a huge salary for such an accomplished person. Now he had to sell his Elysian bungalow. He entered into an apartment. Still, there was no success in horizon in terms of getting another employment. One day, the American police, they found in his bungalow a case of mass suicide. It shocked America, shocked the NRIs. Harvard took up a case studies. Why such a accomplished, academically successful person, so also professionally, could commit mass suicide? And Harvard report came, said it is a case of chasing the success, but not understanding how to withstand the failure. I didn't know why Harvard case report became such a huge celebration in Bhagavad Gita. In second chapter itself, Krishna says, Yogasthaha kuru karmani sangam tektva dhananjaya siddhir siddhyo samabhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. योग में स्थित होकर कर्म करो. योग क्या होता है? लिंकिंग विद द सुप्रीम. I am a divine being. Consciousness cannot be destroyed. Consciousness cannot be caught by any weapon. ना शस्त्र काट सकता है, ना आग इसको जला सकता है. मैं वो आत्मा हूं. वो आत्मा एक तिनका को भी अनुभूति देता है, एक हाथी को भी, मुझे भी और आप सबको। The moment consciousness leaves, you are as good as atoms and molecules. You lose your experience. Bhagavad Gita challenges all of you to solve this original problem. What is that problem? Problem is, it is the consciousness that makes you to experience. ये मेरा चेतना की वजह से मुझे अनुभूति होती है. But in my experience, I do not visualize the very self, the Atman, the consciousness. मेरा अनुभूति में मैं अपने आप को देख नहीं पा रहा हूं. मनुष्य जीवन इसीलिए मिला है. The human life has been given to us for this purpose, to solve this problem. Animals also have consciousness, but they perform the 4 activities that you also do. Ahara, Bhaya, Nidra, Maithuna. Then why you are then a human being? If you don't know how to solve this primal problem, that I am a conscious being, मैं divine हूं, मैं आत्मा हूं, और मैं परमात्मा की अंश हूं. ममैव अंश जीवलोके जीवभूत सनातनः मनसस्थानि इंद्रियाणि प्रकृति स्थानि कर्षति. 15th chapter 7th verse, where Krishna says, we are, हम उनकी दिव्य चित्कण है. और this individual consciousness and universal consciousness, cosmic consciousness, they should be in unison. This is called harmony. Harmony is to build that connection between individual consciousness and the universal or cosmic consciousness that will maintain the cosmic order. This is called yoga. योगा स्थाहा कुरु कर्माणि. कर्म ऐसे करने से नहीं होगा. आज मुख्य अतिथि जी कह रहे थे कि बहुत सारे लोग जो है परिणाम को आगे रखते हैं. कर्म करने के पहले परिणाम को आगे रखते हैं. We keep the results in front of our duty, which is wrong. Duty must be performed according to our svabhava, swadharma. Just like you are students, you must study. That is your swadharma. You should not deviate from your swadharma. That means you have to study, because that's your young age and you have to study. That is interesting for you. You are enjoying it. Not for because management will give me a lot of money. That's why I should do management. Wrong. You can't become a manager, because here all management students are there. I'll quote a verse from 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yadacharati shreshtas tattadevi tarojana sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. You don't become leader just because you have some qualification. No. You become a leader based on what ideal you have. Others आपकी क्या है? Are you able to control your senses? Are senses under your control? इंद्रिय के ऊपर संयम आपको प्राप्त हुआ है? मन के ऊपर संयम प्राप्त हुआ है? अगर नहीं है, आप कितने भी पढ़े लिखे हो, आप लीडर नहीं हो. लीडर बन सकते नहीं हो. It will be a great failure. आप जरूर आपकी जो भी करते हो उसमें आपको सक्सेस नहीं मिलेगा. नहीं मिलेगा. तो भगवत गीता में कर्म के बारे में क्या कहा गया है? कर्म क्यों करें? पहले इसको मैं लास्ट में समाप्त करना चाहता हूं. उसके पहले एक प्रश्न पूछता हूं. आप लोग यज्ञ के बारे में आपकी सोच क्या है? What do you think about यज्ञ? भारतवर्ष में जब भगवत गीता की बात किया जाता है, यज्ञ की बात हम बहुत बार सुनते हैं कि नहीं? So what is यज्ञ?
It is interdependence, mutual cooperation, give and take. That is yoga which I understand.
Thank you, thank you. Anybody else? Students? यज्ञ क्या है? नॉर्मली हम जब यज्ञ की बात करते हैं हवन समझते हैं. या प्लीज
सर, किसी विशेष उद्देश्य के लिए कोई ऐसी क्रिया है जो हम उसको ध्यान में रख के करते हैं.
अच्छा, ठीक है. अब भगवत गीता में पहले तो मैं भगवत गीता बोल देता हूँ. अर्नाथ भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यात् अर्न संभव. अर्नाथ भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यात् अर्न संभव. यज्ञात् भवति पर्जन्यम्. यज्ञ कर्म समुद्भव. नॉर्मली अभी आईआईटी मंडी में हमारी प्रोग्राम है इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम, जहाँ पे 50 शोध कार्य, 50 से ज्यादा रिसर्चर हैं शोध कार्य करता. तो ज्यादातर उनके मन में यह है यज्ञ का अर्थ है हवन. यज्ञ कर्म समुद्भव. आपका रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी यज्ञ है. रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कैसे ले पा रहे हो? जो अपनी इंद्रिय में संयम प्राप्त नहीं किया है, अपने मन के ऊपर संयम प्राप्त नहीं किया है, वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं ले सकते हैं. दे कैन नॉट टेक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. If you are not able to control your senses, if you have no control over mind, you can never take responsibility, because you will be a swarthi. You will be always thinking about you. Your senses are demanding more and more, and you are trying to satisfy that. You can never become a karma yogi. It is not possible. ये संभव नहीं है. और ये शिक्षा हम सिर्फ देते नहीं है हमारी बच्चों को, और हमारे जीवन में उसको भी उतारते नहीं है. And this is the main reason why this wonderful country Bharata, having a beautiful treatise as Bhagavad Gita, is still at the bottom rank in all human parameters, literally speaking. So don't feel bad. मैं अपना देश को बहुत मानता हूं, परंतु फैक्ट को स्वीकार करनी चाहिए. आंकड़ा मिथ्या नहीं कहते हैं. राइट? सो नाउ आई विल एंड दिस डिस्कशन विद सेइंग, वेयर वी आर मेकिंग मिस्टेक. कर्मयोग कहां से? पहले भगवान की, आप देखोगे, आई एम जस्ट फिनिशिंग माय बुक ऑन कर्मयोग. This will just be, will go to the publishing house. First 6 chapter of Bhagavad Gita has been categorized as karma yoga. Why? Because none of us we can live without karma. Our body is made up of 3 modes: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Depending on the ratio, you will be forced to do certain activity. तो कर्म क्यों करनी चाहिए? सेकंड चैप्टर में भगवान ने अर्जुन को बोले कि हम आत्मा हैं. आत्मा का तो कोई भौतिक प्रकृति नहीं है, तो भौतिक कार्य क्यों करें? नहीं, आत्मा की कोई भौतिक प्रकृति नहीं है, आत्मा को कोई भौतिक कार्य करने की जरूरत नहीं है, मगर हमें पता नहीं है कि मैं आत्मा हूं. इसलिए हम कर्म करें ताकि मेरा अंदर में जो आत्मशक्ति है उसकी उजागर हो जाए. I must perform sanctified action in the form of yajna that will awaken my spiritual consciousness. That is why we perform yajna according to our svabhava and swadharma. And we don't understand this. Majority Indians are all after results. A child is born at the 7th grade. He or she has been prompted by the parents that they must prepare for NEET, JEE, advanced JEE and whatnot. as a director, we have been struggling this problem of coaching and student suicide, but nobody is actually attacking the problem at the root. As a society, we have degraded so much so we are only living for the results. We have forgotten that we have a natural instinct. If that natural instinct is blossomed, or we allow them to blossom in the service of the divine, everything will become very beautiful. Harmonizing. This country once upon a time had beautiful artists, beautiful sculptors, beautiful scientists, beautiful warriors, because they believed in karma, and that karma would lead to the perfection. Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. But unfortunately, whether it is Makale's adulteration of our education system, or after independence, we forsook our own original culture or heritage, that is Bhagavad Gita. There may be many reasons why our society has gone to results not for the duty, the responsibility. My end word is, my dear all young boys and girls who are here, please recognize, if you minimize your need, you can maximize your responsibility. You maximize your need, you forsake your responsibility. By maximizing your responsibility, I can give you guarantee you will become a happy person. And by minimizing or maximizing your need, you will be always a person that is suffering always. Please read Bhagavad Gita. In few minutes, I cannot tell you total truth, but there is substance. To end, I'll tell you a recent incident that happened in my association. One person from Calgary called me, said, I am dysfunctional. What has happened? I found he has done his PhD in Montreal. He is also pursuing his postdoc. But he is dysfunctional. His mind is not working. I brought him to Vrindavan, where I run a Gurukul. I told my friend to take all his electronic gadgets. I gave him a lifestyle. He has to go to bed at 8 o'clock and get up or wake up at 4 o'clock in the evening, early morning. And from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the night, he was given a schedule to follow. But most important, he has to do 6 hours of service in Gosala. Why Gosala? Because according to our Bhagavad Gita, this is in mode of goodness, sattva. You suffer, mental depression comes because lack of sattva or mode of goodness within us. Please understand this. The world is going through mental health pandemic. India knows this solution in Indian books, but we neglect it. We gave him in 3 months. This person who came with 129 kg of weight, his weight became 89 kilo. He was not even able to hold a tokri of cow dung. गौशाला में एक बास्केट गोबर उठा नहीं पा रहा था, 50 मीटर नहीं चल पा रहा था. In 3 months, he started circumambulating हमारा जो 100 acres की land है 10 times at once. He was all right. Principle is, you have to accept principle of Bhagavad Gita. You'll be all right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We are indeed blessed by your presence. And please, sir, next time wherever you go, do not take your pen drive along if you have so much content in your mind. So please, a huge round of applause for... Next we have on the panel is Dr. Chirapat Prapand Vidya. Sir is an archaeologist from Thailand, a Sanskrit scholar and an Indologist. He is the first director of Sanskrit Studies Center in Silpakorn University, Bangkok, Thailand. Was awarded Padma Shri by the Government of India in 2022. Has been awarded Vidya Vachaspati by Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan. An honorary doctorate degree from Mahachulalong Kon Raja Vidyalaya, Bangkok. 84 years old or 84 years young, Dr. Chirapat Prapand Vidya. If it is right. Yes, you can.
Can you put your laptop here?
First of all, I would like to thank the government of India for inviting me to participate in the Gita Mahotsav. I won't, since I'm not a scholar in philosophy, I read the Bhagavad Gita only as a literature of philosophy, so I will not be understanding deeply like Professor Plenary, so I may focus on something else, but it may concerning with the spread of Indian civilization to South Asia through the Bhagavad Gita or through the Vaishnavism.
यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम् परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
So this is very famous sloka in the Bhagavad Gita. Everybody who saw the TV series. It tells us about the avatar of the Supreme Being, which is in the form of Lord Krishna, to come to protect dharma and to destroy those who do evil deeds. So Professor had already talked about that yoga and niskama karma, so I won't talk about that. This is also another Gita that show that you have to do action, but without expecting for the result for yourself, only for the good of the world, for the good of community. So it's not belong to any religion, it belongs to the world. If you do that, the world will be only something good in the world will take place. So now the arrival of Mahabharata, Ramayana and the Purana in Southeast Asia, according to the well-contained inscription of King Bhavavarman I, the first king of Chela kingdom, who ruled at the end of 5th century, a Brahman named Somashraman donated the Mahabharata, the Ramayana and the Puranas to a temple named Sri Tripuneswara. He arranged a non-stop reading of the text. The temple is located in Tunteng province, which was previously part of Thai territory, but now is in Cambodia. So it shows that the Mahabharata, in which Bhagavad Gita is a part of it, may have arrived in that area in the 5th century. Dwaravati and Hastinapura mentioned in the inscription. The name Dwaravati attested in the inscription can be traced to the 5th to 6th centuries CE. In early tradition, Dwaravati was regarded as another designation for Dwaraka, the famous capital of Lord Krishna kingdom. The term appeared on silver coin, being the legend Sri Dwaratiswara Punya, the merit of the illustrious laws of the Dwaravati. This coin discovered across various sites in central Thailand provides strong evidence for the existence of a polity known as Dwaravati in this region. Further collaboration comes from the inscribed pedestal of a Buddha image found at a Buddhist monastery west of Nakhon Ratchasima in northeastern Thailand, where the name Dwaravati is again recorded. More recently, a Sanskrit inscription dated to approximately the 7th century CE was unearthed at a Buddhist monastery in Nakhon Prathom, west of Bangkok. This inscription expressly mentioned both Dwaravati and Hastinapura, suggesting the diffusion of Mahabharata tradition and other and their cultural influence within these areas. This is the coin containing the word Sri Dwaratiswara Punya, and another in the stupa, the tallest stupa in the world, Nakhon Pathom, where we also found another inscription that mentioned the word Dwaravati and Hastinapura. This is the inscription. And the script used in the inscription is the Saturn Brahmi, belonging to about 7th century. So I won't quote from the Bhagavad Gita because Professor have talked about that. Now I talk about Kurukshetra in Southeast Asia. The Bhagavad Gita started with the word Dharmashetre, Kurukshetre, Meta Yudusava Mamaka Pandavas Jaiva Ima Kurvata Sanjaya. So Sanjaya asked Sanjaya, Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya what his son and the son of Pandu is doing at the field called Kurukshetra. In the picture is a mountain in Laos, on top of which there is a Shivalinga, Swayambhu Shivalinga called this mountain is called Linga Parvata. This is a picture taken from the slope of the mountain. They call it Wat Phu. At present, there is a Buddhist temple, but previously it was a temple of Hindu temple. There is a groove cut into a bowl in the form of an alligator, and in the middle of it in the form of turtle. This is possibly symbolize the Ganga and Yamuna. The alligator symbolizes the Ganga and the turtle symbolize the Yamuna. This is possibly a container of water to be purified people who are entering a temple. Like in the temple in India, before you enter the temple, you have to pass through a pillar on the gate, in which on both sides there are the symbol of alligator and the turtle, to purify yourself before entering the temple. It may be the same in Laos at that time. There is an inscription in Sanskrit belonging to 5th century. It belongs to King Devanika. He came from a distant land to this country, which is situated near the Wat Phu or Linga Parvata. The king made a sanctification of the river Mekong to be a Kurukshetra in Laos. Before making a sacrifice, so he meditated on Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, so that he may give a tirtha or holy place to the Mekong river. So the word came to his mind that it's Kurukshetra. So he named the place as Kurukshetra in Laos, and also asked for the blessing from the Trimurti to make the river as sacred as the Kurukshetra in India. So at the same temple, Wat Phu, this is a carving of Krishna killing Kansa by tearing apart his body. So indicate that the temple there is maybe even though it may be a temple of Shivalinga, but the carving may be of Vaishnava also. Now the universality of Lord Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita it is said that Asvathas Saravikshanam Deva Vrishinam Janaradaha Gandharvanam Chittarathas Siddhanam Kapilo Muni. It is interesting to know that he also was a tree, that is Aswatha. Aswatha is the people tree, which is also a birthplace, the birth tree under which the Buddha got enlightenment. This is the tree with the root on top and the branches below. It is also mentioned in the inscription. The cosmic Aswatha tree, just as envisaged in the Bhagavad Gita, with the root reaching upward into the divine and its branches cascading down toward the world below. The root above represents the eternal Brahman, the source of all existence, while the downward spreading branches signify the transient world of form and desire. It is a profound metaphor for spiritual realization, urging one to cut down the tree with the act of detachment and see the root, the eternal self. In verse 4 of the Prelude inscription belonging to reign of King Rudravarman of ancient Cambodia, who ruled between 1944 to 1968, described Vasudeva, that is Krishna, as transcending the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and eternally established in the supreme state. But through the fourfold manifestation of the three guna, he appeared in diverse form in the universe, that is Vishwarupa. So this stanza taken from the Katha Upanishad. The earliest known inscription to mention Vasudeva is K36, discovered at Prasad Niang Khamao in Bati, Sakya province, Cambodia, dating to the mid-centuries. It opened with the invocation to Vasudeva, an epithet of Lord Krishna. The diffusion of the Krishna cult across ancient Thailand and Cambodia is attested by its iconographic manifestation and vast relief and sculptural form and local literature. So on the two sculptures are the figure of Krishna lifting the Mount Govardhana at Vrindavan. This is at a very beautiful ancient temple in Thailand. There are also stories of Lord Krishna carving on a lintel. This is a lintel depicting Krishna slaying the elephant Kuvariya Gita, who blocked the gate to the arena to prevent Balarama and Krishna to enter the arena. And this is also another episode of Krishna killing Keshi, a demon in the form of horse, on a lintel at Himai. This is at Prasad Ban Ruang, also carving about the episode of Krishna when he was young. another, this is the Krishna lifting Govardhana, and also Krishna subduing Kalinaga. The story of Krishna also appear in the localization of the literature of Thailand. The first one is Aniruddha Amchan, the only poem of Ayutthaya period on the elope between Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna, and Usha, Bana daughter. And another story also, Unnarut, taken some element from Aniruddha and Usha love story, composed by King Rama I of Bangkok period. And Usama wrote also the same story, but in local folktale belonging to northeastern Thailand and north of Thailand. Another story is about the myth of how the stupa at Nakhon Pathom was built. There was a king named Phayakong Phasi Kansa, and Phayapan maybe Bala Krishna. So the king's queen conceived a son, and the astrologer told that his son will be the father killer. So when the child was born, he discarded the child, and a woman reared him up, and when he grew up, he was adopted by a king, nearby king. So when he grew up, he challenged his father to fight. Unknowingly, he killed his father. And also, he killed his stepmother who brought him up. To expiate from his bad deeds, he built two stupa in Nakhon Pathom. The one is for the king, that is the tallest stupa in Nakhon Pathom. Another is a smaller one, which is in ruin. Now, this is the first Thai translation of the Bhagavad Gita by my teacher in 1966. So the spread of the teaching of Gita to Thailand is somewhat late because we have few people who know Sanskrit. So my teacher who taught me Sanskrit translated this Bhagavad Gita for the first time in Thailand. And in modern Thai, the Bhagavad Gita was spread by Harihara Maharaj Ji, who erected Gita ashram all over the world, including Thailand. I have my friend who came with me. She was the devotee of the Maharshi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We salute your courage and indomitable spirit. Next we have on the panel is Dr. Dhaneshwar. He is a Vice Chancellor, Nepal Sanskrit University, a PhD in Siddhant Jyotish, that is popularly known as planetary motion, east as well as the west. He is editor, Nepal Kendra Dal, editor-in-chief, Bulletin, Nepal Sanskrit University, and editor to so many journals of national and international repute. So chances are, if you have written a paper in Sanskrit and you are sending it to Nepal, he could be the editor. So it's a good opportunity for you guys to get in touch. Sir, please.
सच्चिदानंद रूपाय निर्गुणाय गुणात्मनि समस्त जगताकारः ब्रह्मरूपते नमः। प्रपन्न पारिजाताय उत्तर व्यत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीता मृतदुहे नमः। सभाभ्यः सभापति भ्यश्च अत्र अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय गीता महोत्सवस्य अवसरे योजितस्य अस्य सत्रस्य विद्वांसः उद्देश्यः शोधपत्र प्रस्तुतारः तिरुपति विश्वविद्यालयस्य पदाधिकारिणः छात्रछात्राश्च तत्र भवेतां सर्वेषाम् अभिनन्दन वचांसि निवेद्य श्रीमद्भागवत गीतायाः कर्मयोग विषये किञ्चित् विषयोपस्थानं कुर्मि। आदरणीय महानुभावं वेद जो सनातन संस्कृति के आधार है, सनातन धर्म और संस्कृति के मूल आधार वेद है। हमारा संपूर्ण व्यवहार वेदों में बताए गए सिद्धांत पर आधारित है। कहा गया है वेदो हिरो धर्ममूलम, न केवल धर्ममूलम अपितु संस्कृतेर अभिमूलम। हम भारतीय हैं, नेपाल और भारत दोनों पड़ोसी देश है। दोनों को बीच बहुत कालों से, सदियों से भाईचारा संबंध है। केवल रोटी बेटी के संबंध नहीं, सनातन संस्कृति के जग ने हमारे संबंधों के सेतु को प्रबल बना रखा है। वेदों में 3 कांड है। एक है कर्म कांड जो अनुष्ठान के रूप में है, दूसरा उपासना कांड भक्ति पूजा उसमें आता है, और ज्ञान कांड जो तत्व ज्ञान के विषय है। हमारे विद्वान प्राध्यापक ने परा ज्ञान के बारे में बहुत कुछ कहा है। तो तत्व ज्ञान व आत्मा के विषय उन्होंने चर्चा किया है। मनुष्य का संपूर्ण जीवन इन्हीं वैदिक मार्ग पर चलते हुए अपने बताए गए उद्देश्यों को प्राप्ति करने में व्यतीत होता है। वर्ण और आश्रम व्यवस्था में बने सभी लोग अपने अपने निर्धारित कर्म करके मुक्ति को प्राप्त करने के लक्ष्य रखते हैं। भगवान श्री कृष्ण ने इसी भूमि पर, जिस भूमि में आज श्रीमद् भागवत गीता के महोत्सव मना रहे हैं, इसी भूमि में कुरुक्षेत्र के युद्ध भूमि में अर्जुन को जो उपदेश दिया था वही ज्ञान भागवत गीता के रूप में संग्रह किया। भगवान नारायण वेदव्यास जी ने इस उपदेश का सार एकत्र करके महाभारत नामक ग्रंथ की रचना की थी। इस महाभारत को पंचम वेद, 5वां वेद भी कहते हैं। महाभारत के भीष्म पर्व आता है, उस अंतर्गत 18 अध्याय में श्रीमद् भागवत गीता समाहित है। 6ठे अध्याय के शुरुआत से कर्म योग का वर्णन प्रारंभ होता है। 7वें से 12वें अध्याय तक भक्ति पूजा उपासना का वर्णन है। 13वें से 18वें अध्याय तक ज्ञान योग का वर्णन है, जो मुक्ति का साधन है। यही संपूर्ण वेदांत का सार है। इसीलिए कहा गया है, सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपाल नंदन आर्थो वत्स सुदीर्घोता दुग्धम गीतामृतम महत्। अब मैं पूर्वीय जगत के आविष्कार के विषय में कुछ कहना चाहता हूँ। पूर्वीय जगत में सर्वप्रथम श्री कृष्ण ने गीता के विषय में उपदेश किया। अर्जुन को बताए हुए गीता का उपदेश किया। वहीं से योग का योग ज्ञान का प्रारंभ हो गया है। उसी योग को पतंजलि ने योग चित्तवृत्ति निरोधक, योग कर्म सुकौशलम इत्यादि तरह से योग का व्याख्यान किया, योग सूत्रों का आविष्कार किया। उसी योग को आइंस्टाइन ने यौगिक चेतना कहा और उसी योग को इसी भारत के महर्षि ने भावातीत चेतना कहा गया। महर्षि जो भौतिक महर्षि फाउंडेशन है वो अभी अमेरिका यूरोपियन राष्ट्र में हमारे धर्म संस्कृति और वैदिक ज्ञान के विषय में रिसर्च और अनुसंधान कर रहा है, उसका प्रचार प्रसार कर रहा है। उसी योग को, योग का काम है जोड़ना, उसी योग को का अंतिम पक्ष है डिवाइन नॉलेज, जिसको प्राचेतना कहता है, कहते हैं विशुद्ध चेतना है। जो आइंस्टाइन ने यौगिक चेतना यूनिफाइड फील किया है, इसको विस्तार से चर्चा करने के यहाँ समय नहीं, वही यौगिक चेतना जो एकत्व का क्षेत्र कहते हैं वही हमारा विशुद्ध चेतना है। ये अभी प्रमाणित हुआ है, वैज्ञानिक रिसर्च से प्रमाणित हुआ विषय। और ज्ञान का उदय भी भारतवर्ष से हुआ। हमारे सनातन संस्कृति की सभ्यता के दर्शन के उदय भी हमारे ऋषि मुनियों ने हिमालय और कंदरा में बैठ के त्याग तपस्या करके किया है। इसी भूमि में से कपिल मुनि ने न्याय सूत्र के प्रतिपादन किए, न्याय दर्शन के प्रतिपादन किए, पाणिनि ने व्याकरण के आविष्कार किए। अभी उस व्याकरण का अनुसंधान अब नासा कर रहा है। नासा में जो रिसर्च कर रहा है अब के कुछ वर्षों में वहां अंतरिक्ष में संस्कृति गुंजन करना चाहता है। गुंजन कराने के लिए नासा कार्य कर रही है। जो अंतरिक्ष में सूचना पठाने के लिए, प्रक्षेप करने के लिए व्याकरण, संस्कृत के व्याकरण अधिक लाभदायक है, अधिक सरल है, इसलिए उसमें नासा कार्य कर रहा है कि संस्कृत भाषा में वो कंप्यूटर का आविष्कार करना चाहता है, इसलिए संचालन करना चाहता है। अब इसी मिट्टी के भास्कराचार्य ने गुरुत्वाकर्षण सिद्धांत के आविष्कार किए। आत्मनिष्ठ शक्ति से मई आया है, खस्तम गुरुस्वाभिमुखम सुशक्त है। ये सिद्धांत प्रतिपादन किया, और अब ये सिद्धांत का आविष्कार कौन बताते हैं? आइंस्टाइन। इसका आविष्कार किया, इति प्रचार हुआ है। ये कैसे हुआ? हमारे अग्रजों ने आविष्कार तो किया, लेकिन उसकी नींव को आगे नहीं बढ़ाया। आइंस्टाइन ने उसको गुरुत्वाकर्षण, ग्रेविटेशन को गणित के आधार पर प्रमाणित किया, इसलिए वो आविष्कारक बन गए। इसीलिए हमारे ऋषि मुनियों ने बहुत से ज्ञान के धरातल में काम किए, लेकिन हमारे नई पीढ़ियों ने उसको आगे नहीं बढ़ा सका। इसे आगे बढ़ाना है। अब आधुनिक संदर्भ में गीता का सांदर्भिकता का प्रश्न उठता है। गीता जीवन और दर्शन को प्रकाशित करने वाला अमूल्य निधि है। श्रीमद् भागवत गीता आज भी अत्यंत प्रासंगिक है। आज के समय में युद्ध के भय और स्वार्थ के कोलाहल से घिरी दुनिया में मनुष्य आपसी वैमनस्य, दुश्मनी से लड़ रहा है। अपने विषाद और मोह के कारण वो अपने जाति और आश्रम की मर्यादाओं को उल्लंघन कर रहा है और अच्छे कर्मों को छोड़कर बुरे कर्म में लिप्त हो रहे हैं। इसीलिए उनके इस विषाद को दूर करने और सही मार्ग दिखाने के लिए गीता के शास्त्रों को सुनना, मनन करना, उसमें सन्निहित जो मूल्य मान्यता के विषय है, मानवीय हित के विषय है, मानवता के विषय उसको मनन करना, आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए। इसी प्रकार के जो आयोजन हो रहा है, इसके माध्यम से संसार भर गीता के सांदर्भिकता को पुष्टि करना है। समस्या के समाधान विचार के शुद्धिकरण से और भक्ति एवं ज्ञान योग से होता है। इसमें गीता मार्गदर्शन ये काम करता है। और श्रीमद् भागवत में जो भगवान ने मुख्य रूप से अर्जुन को 3 प्रकार के योग बताया है। सामान्य सांसारिकों के लिए कर्मयोग, साधकों के लिए भक्ति योग और तपस्वियों के लिए ज्ञान योग। इन तीनों योगों में कर्म योग को सबसे अधिक श्रेयकर माना गया है। कर्म योग को भी कर्म योग और कर्म संन्यास योग में विभाजित किया गया है। जब अर्जुन ने पूछा कि इन दोनों में कौन सा श्रेष्ठ है, तो भगवान ने कर्म योग की प्रशंसा करते हुए कहा था, कर्मण्यवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भव मा ते संगोष्ठ कर्मणि। कर्म करते समय भी फल की चिंता नहीं करना चाहिए। कर्म की जो आज के दिन में कर्म तो करते हैं, लेकिन लाभ के लिए कर रहे हैं। उसे कितना धन आर्जन होता है, उसे क्या लाभ होता है, सत्ता प्राप्ति होता है कि नहीं, कुछ प्राप्त होता है कि नहीं, इस के लोभ से लाभ के लिए कर्म कर रहे हैं। वो निष्काम कर्म हम लोग नहीं कर रहे हैं, इसलिए मार्गच्युत हो रहे हैं। अभी गीता के निष्काम कर्म की तरफ जाना है। उसी से देश के कल्याण होगा, समाज के कल्याण होगा, समाज में शांति का स्थापना होगा, विश्व में शांति के वसुधैव कुटुंबकम के जो सिद्धांत है, संगठन संबद्धम संभो मानसिदानता इत्यादि, जो हमारे संस्कृति का जो अनुपम दृष्टांत है, उसका परिपालन करना है। और हमारे पूर्वज जनक आदि ने केवल शास्त्रों में पढ़े कर्तव्यों का पालन करते हुए भी राज्य चलाया था। बुद्धिमानों ने भी अपने राष्ट्र, समाज और संस्कृति की उन्नति तथा लोगों को प्रेरणा देने के लिए कर्म किए थे। संसार में सामान्य लोग श्रेष्ठ लोगों के आचरण देखकर कर्म करते हैं। इसीलिए भगवान कृष्ण स्पष्ट संकेत करते हैं कि श्रेष्ठ पुरुषों को सदैव अपने कर्तव्यों की पालना करना चाहिए। यद्यदाचरति श्रेष्ठ तत् देवे तरोजन स्वयं प्रमाणम कृते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते। ये बात भी गीता में संग्रहित है। और यह कर्मयोग समाज और राष्ट्र के उत्थान का एक साधन है। कर्मयोग संसार को जोड़ता है। अयोग्य पुरुषो नास्ति योजकस् तत्र दुर्लभः। सभी लोगों का गुण होता है, कोई ना कोई विशेषता होता है, योग्यता होता है, लेकिन सभी लोग में योजना करने की, जोड़ने की क्षमता नहीं होता है। वो वही बताया है योग का विषय में श्री कृष्ण ने जो उपदेश किया है, इसी में योजकों के विषय में बताया है। अब निष्कर्ष में समाप्त हो गए। ठीक, मेरा मानना है कि भगवान श्री कृष्ण द्वारा बताए गए कर्मयोग का अभ्यास करने की हमारा समाज और देश प्रगति के मार्ग पर अग्रसर हो सकता है। भयग्रस्त समाज और अशांत विश्व को शांति का प्राप्ति इसी मार्ग से हो सकता है। इसी वजह से हमें ऐसे बड़े उत्सव मनाने चाहिए। उत्सव की सांदर्भिकता भी इससे पुष्टि होता है। मैं नेपाल के काष्ठ मंडप में विराजित पंचमुखी भगवान श्री पशुपतिनाथ से प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि यह अंतर्राष्ट्रीय गीता महोत्सव भारत और नेपाल के बीच एक संस्कृति के सेतु बने और अपने देश उद्देश्य को प्राप्त करने में सफलता आए। हमारा जो संबंध है उसका मूल आधार ही सनातन संस्कृति है, इसको आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए। विश्वविद्यालय के अन्य गतिविधियों में व्यस्त होने के बावजूद मैं भगवत गीता के प्रचार और संस्कृत के संरक्षण के लिए आयोजित इस उत्सव में आपके आमंत्रण पर यहाँ उपस्थित होकर सम्मानित हुआ ऐसा महसूस कर रहा हूँ और इस अवसर के लिए मैं आप लोगों का
धन्यवाद आदरणीय, आपका हृदय से आभार एवं सम्मान। He is the Pro Vice Chancellor, Central University of Haryana. He has been awarded with Srinivasa Ramanujam Birth Sanitary Award Gold Medal. First and the only scientist from Haryana to be nominated for the Indian Scientific Expedition to Antarctica. 29 years of teaching experience and 34 years of research experience. Has also been awarded Youth Red Cross Award from the Governor of Haryana. Bronze Medal from Chemical Research Society of India. Served the Kurukshetra University for a very long period. Not the most knowledgeable but also the most stylish. May I request Professor Pavan Sharma ji, sir, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone here. We started with good afternoon. I think it's time to say good evening. Professor Mark Allen, Professor Hiroaki Sato, Professor Lakshmindra Behera, Professor Dhaneshwar, Professor Chirapat Prapand Vidya, Professor Sathans, Reverend Major Sharma, Professor Ramesh Chandra, faculty, other faculty members, research scholars, students. If I say that the seekers of truth, I think that that is an apt description for everyone present in this hall. I'm in fact elated to be here today for the 10th version of this International Gita Conference, but for a reason totally different than anyone else on the dais. Because I have the fortune to be associated as a lead organizer for the first International Gita Conference in 2016, along with Professor Manjula Chaudhary, and I was one of the lead organizers for 4 years, from 2016 to 2019. So I'm very happy to be here today as someone from Central University of Haryana and being a part of this International Gita Conference. I'm a scientist by training and not a scholar of Gita, but and I'm really elated to hear and see Professor Mark Allen, Professor Dhaneshwar, from Professor Chirapat from Thailand and others, like how much they are investing of their self into the study of Bhagavad Gita. So how I am here, so definitely I'm not an illuminated scholar of Gita, but only based on my extensive travels to 6 continents and looking at the interest of the people around the world in the Indian epics, including the Bhagavad Gita, I got increasingly aligned to the relevance of Bhagavad Gita to solve contemporary challenges. As an example, to Professor Sato sitting here from Japan, during my trip to, especially to my younger audience, during my trip to Japan, I was mesmerized to see that many of the deities that we worship here, those are part of the temples in the Japan, only with the Japanese features and the Japanese names. Like, for example, you see Garud, that is by the name Karur in Japan. Saraswati by the name Benten or Benzaten. Ganesh, Kagitel, Shiva, Daikokuten. So it was especially in Kyoto when I visited all those sites and I was mesmerized to see that. So that simply tells that we are not alone, we were not alone, there was a strong cultural connection, cultural exchange in the societies in this part of the world. So as I said that I'm not as an illuminated scholar, so what I'm going to talk for the next 5-7 minutes is simply as an ardent follower, looking for ardent follower of Bhagavad Gita, someone who's looking for practical lessons and tools in Bhagavad Gita for the polycrisis the world is going through including the significance of digital Karma Yogi. So when I say polycrisis, I think that we can't deny that world is in a polycrisis. We are definitely facing so many challenges, and in this chaotic environment, our old ways of deciding right from wrong, they are no longer enough. They are not enough. And they struggle to guide us through the complex challenges, the modern government and our personal search for meaning. Now, at such times, the Bhagavad Gita offers a very powerful, what I call as the moral operating system. So if our body is a hardware, then I think that the operating system is, if we install Bhagavad Gita as a moral operating system, I think that that can offer answers to many of the problems that we are going through today, the world is going through today. So Bhagavad Gita, in essence, I would say that with my limited understanding, it provides 3 specific tools, and those tools are, first of all, Swadharma. So like, for example, when Professor Behera talked about the problems being faced by the students through this coaching and the suicides and depression, so one of the leading causes for that is that we are not following the Swadharma as he indicated, but Pardharma. That is what I desire to be, or what I just think that we commonly say that, oh, I follow your passion. That's the 21st century adage. But what happens when the passion dies? What happens when you have the difficulties? So because the passion may be curated by the constant bombardment, the digital bombardment of that what you think might be the right choice. The right choice can be the package, the right choice can be, you see all those heroes on the big screen and you want to be like that. But once you start to face difficulties, you think that that was not my Swadharma. By Swadharma, it simply means our intrinsic duty. What's according to my Subhav? So if my profession is according to my Subhav and my Swadharma, I think that we'll enjoy it, that it will be easier to follow, if I say in the Gita language, it will be easier to follow Nishkam Kam if you are following your Swadharma according to your Subhav. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. So that is the first tool which Bhagavad Gita offers to us. The second being the Lok Sangrah, that is working for the universe, the welfare of the whole world. So universal welfare, what we say as like in simple terms, sometimes we say the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. And the third being Sthit Pragya. Professor Behera mentioned about it very beautifully. That means maintaining steady wisdom and a calm mind. Now, we cannot have a steady wisdom and we'll always have udveg if we are not following the Swadharma. So that is the reason. So the basis for this Nishkam Kam and this being Sthit Pragya, that lies in following your Swadharma. So now when we talk about Bhagavad Gita, we usually say that it has timeless wisdom. But when we say timeless wisdom, we often try to say it is old. In other words, we try to say it is something beautiful, just like a piece in a museum. Old, beautiful, but relegated behind a glass. I think the time is here to break the wall, to break the glass. And like many scholars prior to me has beautifully illustrated that how we can break that glass to bring the Gita out of that glass. So that means when I say that Gita can offer the problems to our contemporary challenges that we are following today. So based on Gita, we can propose the approach, what we call as the dharmic realism. And we can attain the dharmic realism by doing 3 things. First is using the gun, the 3 gun, the sattva, rajas and tamas. And when we go to this digital era, when we talk about digital Karma Yogi, when we talk about digital addiction, so those are basically, you see, the tamasic and rajasic karma. So first is using the trigun as a psychological tool, especially to help align artificial intelligence safely. The second is using Nishkam Kam. Every speaker has talked about it because that is the essence of the Holy Gita. So I think that we have already talked a lot about it. And the third being the Rashtradharma, that is the national duty. In this era of this constantly bombarding by the narratives and the digital information, I think that our national duty, the Rashtradharma, using Rashtradharma as a strategy for dealing with the world that has many different global paths, I think that that offers quite a solace. Now, in this digital era, we are living in a paradox, aren't we? We are living in a paradox. We have fiber optic cables running under our oceans, connecting continents, yet we struggle to connect with a person sitting across the dinner table. We say that this generation is always on. So we are always on, yet we have never felt more switched off from our own inner selves. So look at, like if you look at the devices in your hands, like mobile, it's a miracle of engineering. But in the context of our mental peace, that 6, 7, 5-inch screen is not just a phone, it's the modern Kurukshetra. The same Kurukshetra where Arjun was, with all his might, with all his arrows, with all his skills, he just dropped his bow and said what to do. So this screen in this being a digital Karmayogi, the first thing is that this is your modern Kurukshetra. So just like Arjun stood in the battlefield, the digital native stands in the middle of the information superhighway. But your arrows are not the Gandhi's missiles. They are notifications, they are emails, they are your DMs, DM slides, and the infinite scroll. Your enemies are not the Kaurav, they are distraction, comparison, and the desperate need for validation. So we are suffering from, in the technical sense, in the digital sense, we are suffering from a system overload. Our RAM is full, but our processors are idle. And the work has to be done by the processors. So how do we navigate this? Do we throw the phone away? Do we go to the Himalayas and be the seers? The most beautiful thing about Gita is that it does not teach you escapism. It teaches you conquest. In Bhagavad Gita, you will never find any verse which will say, okay, go away, just leave it, handle it at a later stage. No escapism in Gita. So Gita doesn't teach us escapism, it teaches us conquest. So in chapter 6, verse 6, Krishna gives us the source code for mental stability. So he says, you see that the Sanskrit shlok, many other people would be reciting better than me what they say that Bandhuratma manastasya yenatme vatmanajite. It says for those who have conquered the mind, and I think that this one shlok itself can help the younger generation, each one of us who are more into this, who are going by this dilemma what to do. It says for those who have conquered the mind, it's the best of friends. But for those who have failed to do so, the mind will remain the greatest enemy. Now, think of the algorithm. Now, when you use the internet with purpose, you have a defined purpose for research, for getting some information, for getting answer to something, to connect, to learn. It is your bandhu, it's your friend. But when you mindlessly surrender your agency to the autoplay feature, the auto scroll feature, then the algorithm decides what you see next and it becomes your shatru, it becomes your enemy. So in terms of the technical vocabulary, we say admin. So if you are the admin of your mind, the technology is a tool. if you are a guest user, technology is a tyrant. That is the message in the contemporary time this verse can just give us. I'll just give one more example or one more issue I'll address, and then I'll rest my case. You see, let's just debug a common glitch in our operating system. So when I say operating system, you see, if you update your hardware without updating the software, what do you produce? You produce asurs. The power like the gods, but the wisdom like the beast. That is what we need to understand. So, when I say the glitch in the operating system, I usually call it by many ways, many names, but one which is more, one which I like the most is the post and panic loop. Post and panic and a loop. So you take a photo, you edit it, you upload it, and after that you are constantly on the screen. How many likes? 2. Then you refresh it. 5, 10. Why didn't he like it? Why didn't she like it? Why my friend got 500 likes and you got only 20? Now, in that moment, you think what you are doing? You have simply outsourced your self-worth to a server farm in the Silicon Valley. You are letting a piece of code determine your happiness. In simple terms, you are not pulling your own strings. Your strings are being pulled by that code, a small source code or anyone else, and by pulling your strings, someone else can make you happy or can make you angry. Do you think that is you would like to be in that situation? We are able to pull our own strings for the good or for the not good. So now that anxiety, the Gita anticipates this anxiety of the Creator. Now in the boardroom of Kurukshetra, the Krishna delivers the ultimate management principle in chapter. You have a right to perform your prescribed duties without being entitled to the fruits. Now when we oversimplify it, we think that why we should do the duty? Why I do the menial job? Well, that is not the spirit behind Nishkam Kam. Now, if I have to decode it according to the modern contemporary time, then I'll say that this is the hardest protocol to implement. Krishna is simply saying that you have a right to the post, but you have no right to the viral status which you are trying it to be. You want that whatever I posted that should have 1,000 likes or 2,000 likes, you don't have that. So you control the input, the quality of your work, the quality of your study, your creativity, but you do not control the output. So when you detach from the matrix, the views, the shares and likes, you free up your bandwidth. And that is when you can achieve what you desire. Although still that will be the rajas good, but still you have to free your bandwidth by coming out of this. So just imagine that coding an app not because you want to be a billionaire, but because you love the elegance of the logic. Now such a situation, what we call as the Nishkam Kam, it's a high performance living with zero latency caused by anxiety. So I think that being the last speaker, I won't stand here for long. I can only say that the Bhagavad Gita, it does not ask you to smash your smartphones, not at all, because that will be escapism, that will be running from the reality. Anything which is constant in this world is the change. Change is the only constant. There is no other constant. So Krishna did not ask Arjuna to run away from the battlefield. He simply asked him to stand and fight with a steady mind. So digital Karma Yoga, with my limited understanding, is the art of being in the cloud, but not off the cloud. It's the ability to use Instagram to inspire, not to impress. It's the ability to use LinkedIn to serve, not just to climb. It's the ability to put the phone down, look at the sunset, and realize that the highest resolution is not 4K or 8K. It's the resolution of your own consciousness, which has the highest K, which is the highest resolution. So don't let the tool become the master. Be the programmer of your own destiny. Debug your mind daily. Upload kindness. Download wisdom. Be a digital yogi. Om Tat Sat. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, that brings us to the completion of a wonderful session. जिन लोगों ने महाभारत देखी है या सुनी है, उन्होंने सुना होगा, आस कह रही श्वास से धीरज रखना सीख, बिन मांगे मोती मिले, मांगे मिले न भीख। तो हमें शिक्षित करने के लिए, आनंदित करने के लिए, अचंभित करने के लिए मंच पर जितने भी लोग विद्यमान हैं, मैं इनका दिल से हार्दिक आभार और धन्यवाद प्रकट करता हूं। और आप लोगों ने, यू हैव बीन अ वंडरफुल ऑडियंस, जिस धीरज का परिचय दिया है, मैं चाहता हूं एक बार आप जोरदार तालियां प्लीज अपने लिए बजाएं, so that we can move towards the close of this session. I hope the felicitation team is ready. For felicitation, first of all, may I now request Chairperson, University School of Management, Professor Anil Mittal, to present a token of respect and gratitude to Mr. Mark Allen. You can keep clapping, guys. I think we are here for only 5 to 7 minutes, so let's show the strength. May I now request Professor Ramesh Chandra, Director, Institute of Management Studies, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, to present a token of respect and gratitude to Professor Hiroyuki Sato from Japan. May I now request Associate Professor, University School of Management, who also happens to be the Joint Secretary, International Gita Conference, Dr. Saloni Pawan Diwan, to present a token of gratitude to Professor Lakshmidhar Biharaji. Yeah, keep clapping, guys, keep clapping. May I now request Associate Professor, Institute of Management Studies, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, Dr. Jackishan Chandel, to present a token of respect and gratitude to Professor Dhaneshwar, Vice Chancellor, Nepal Sanskrit University. Major I.J. Sharma, sir, please act like a host. On our behalf, please present a token of respect and gratitude to Professor Chirapat Prapandavidya from Thailand. I now request University School of Management, Dr. Vivek Kumar, to present a token of respect and gratitude to Professor Pawan Sharma, Pro Vice Chancellor, Central University of Haryana.
भाई पीछे देखियो भाई।
He has taken a pledge that wherever he goes, he transforms the infrastructure of that place. IMS guys are the witness, and now USM is seeing the change. May I request Chairperson, University School of Management, Professor Anil Mittal, to propose the vote of thanks.
Esteemed dignitaries, respected scholars, honored guests, faculty members, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the University School of Management and Institute of Management Studies, Kurukshetra, it is my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this profoundly enriching plenary session of the 10th International Gita Conference 2025. First and foremost, I extend my deep gratitude to our distinguished speakers who travelled from different parts of the world and shared their profound insights. Professor Mark Allen from Sydney, Professor Hiroyuki Sato from Japan, Professor Lakshmi Dhar Behera, Director IIT Mandi, Professor Dhaneshwar from Nepal, Professor Chirapat Vidya from Thailand, Professor Pawan Sharma, PVC, Central University of Haryana. Your scholarly contributions have truly elevated this session. You have helped us see how timeless Gita wisdom aligns seamlessly with the evolving dynamics of the digital world. For that, we express our deepest gratitude. I also take this opportunity to thank Professor Tajendra Sharma, Seminar Director, for his dynamic leadership and the plan this entire event with such excellence and precision. Our sincere thanks to the organizing committee, faculty, colleagues, students, volunteers and sports staff whose hard work behind the scenes ensured the smooth execution of today's program. A special word of appreciation goes to all delegates, scholars and participants joining us from India and abroad. Your presence makes this conference meaningful and vibrant. Most importantly, we are grateful to our ancient wisdom, the Bhagavad Gita, which continues to inspire, guide and illuminate our understanding as we navigate a rapidly transforming digital era. Truly, as Krishna referred as Yugastha Kuru Karmani, which is also a logo, which is part of the Kurukshetra logo, Yugastha Kuru Karmani, stay anchored in wisdom while performing action. Along with that, Yogaha Karamsu Koshlam, yoga is excellence in action, meaning thereby true excellence comes when skill is combined with ethics, balance and mindfulness, which has a relevance for the digital era. Use technology with responsibility, maintain integrity in a fast AI-driven environment, focus on quality, not shortcuts, let mindfulness guide digital actions. Likewise, the other part of the Bhagavad Gita, Samatvam Yog Uchyate, meaning thereby stay calm and balanced in success and failure is true wisdom, which has a relevance for the digital era. Overcome digital stress, comparison and FOMO stands for fear of missing out. Make rational, not reactive online decisions. Maintain emotional balance despite constant notifications. Practice mindful engagement with screens and social media. Today's session was a living example of these teachings. Finally, I thank each of you present here for your attention, engagement and encouragement. With these words, I formally conclude the vote of thanks. Thank you, Dhanyavad, thank you very much.
May I now request everyone in the audience to stand up and the dignitaries as well to stand up for the national anthem of Bharat.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे
भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा, द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा, उच्छल जलधि तरंगा। तब शुभ नामे जागे, तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तब जय गाथा। जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।